The next step is to make sure your project settings are correct. The gear is next to the Send button. If you click the gear, it opens up the settings. If you are using G Suite for education, Google Apps for Education, you will have a Require Sign-ins button automatically checked off. It restricts people filling in this form to people who are in your Google domain. So if you are interested in working outside your school and you're creating this form, you need to turn that off. Collect email addresses. That will only work if it's within your school. And I'm not requiring only one response per person. This is something you may not want to turn on because it does it by where a person's sitting, what computer they're on. Next we go to the Presentation tab. And in this case, it always shows a link to submit another response. You may want to turn that off if you only want one response per person. And then the confirmation message. It's automatically going to say your response has been recorded. I would suggest you personalize that. So thank you. You will receive an email with partner contact information and group name after Christmas break. This is a project I start up around about November. You could also say and include your email address so that somebody knows how to contact you. Once you save that, you could send out a link to the form. I like to customize the form by using the color palette button. Right now it's a purple palette. You can choose any color that you'd like. Additionally, you can click on the picture button and they have a series of illustrations that can be used with the project. So I use this book for my story writing project. And when you select it, it just gives a little different style to your project. I want to create a link to my project, so I'm going to go to preview mode. This is the link to the form. It is really long and too many characters and numbers to give to somebody. I highlighted the entire form and I'm going to edit copy that. Now there are a number of ways that you can choose to shorten this website address. I'm going to add a new tab, and the site that I like using is called tinyurl. Not only does tinyurl allow you to edit paste that really long website address to the form, but it also allows you to make a shortened name that's easier for people to see and remember. Once I paste that in, if I just click Make tinyurl, it will give me a much shorter website address, but it's just random letters and numbers. So I've got in the habit of calling all of my tinyurls RCAN for Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Newark, and I'll call this NCEA Sample 2017 and make tinyurl. The reason I started with RCAN is that the likelihood is nobody's going to have a tinyurl starting with RCAN. So if I, for instance, tried to use the word quiz, somebody somewhere along the lines probably used the word quiz, so that couldn't be a shortened URL. If I click copy to clipboard, it does edit copy for me. And then that's the URL that I would use in my emails. I'm going back to the Collaborative Projects tab. I also am going to create a new document in here. And I'm going to call this document, remember up in the upper left hand corner is the name of the file, tinyurls. And again, no thanks. And I'll paste that tinyurl, edit paste, into this document, and I'm going to say what it is in 2017. So what I do is every time I make a form, anytime I make a shortened URL, I copy and paste it into a document called tinyurls. And again, I'm using Google Docs because that's where I'm comfortable working. You could use a Word document, you could use a bookmarking system like Digo or something else, whatever makes your work easier.